can have a moment with them, take them on a tour of Parliament, because I was so impressed. They have done something for the future generations, and it will be remembered that it is during their time as Sunday school officers that it happened. So I love them, and we thank God for them. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I will give the Honorable Member from Mundanyi, Honorable Danson Mwashoko, exactly 1 minute to welcome the students from Coast Region.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwanza nikushukuru kwa nafasi hii. Nichukue nafasi hii kukaribisha vijana wa Kenyatta University ambao ni vijana wanatoka Pwani. Mheshimiwa Spika, vijana hawa ni karibu vijana 100. Leo waliona ni vyema watembee katika bunge la kitaifa ili wakaone ni vipi basi tunafanya kazi katika nyumba hii ambayo imeheshimika. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanafunzi hawa wamebobea sana katika masuala ya masomo, katika masomo tofauti, lakini kando na masomo, Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa ni viongozi ambao tunatarajia sana ndani ya miaka 2-3 wanapomaliza masomo yao ya chuo, basi wengine wao hata watakuja kuwa wabunge na maseneta na viongozi katika taifa letu la Kenya. Kwa hivyo kwa niaba ya wenzangu wa Pwani, mimi nikiwa mwenyekiti wa vuguvugu la wabunge wa Pwani, chairman wa Coast Parliamentary Group, nachukua nafasi hii kuwakaribisha katika bunge la kitaifa vijana wetu kutoka Pwani, wajisikie wako sawa, wako kwao, na wajue sisi wabunge wao tutafanya kazi ili masomo yao yasitatizike, lakini pia tutafanya kazi ili nchi yetu ipate kutafuta nafasi za ajira. Wanapomaliza shule, wanapomaliza vyuo, wapate kazi na wabadilishe hali za maisha za kwao nyumbani. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Karibu vijana wa Kosaku ambapo ni kutoka Kenyatta University. Mheshimiwa Spika, pengine niseme tu, mimi nikiwa Kenyatta University mwaka wa 99 mpaka 203, sisi ama mimi na wengine ndo tulianzisha hii Coast Student Association kule Kenyatta University. Kwa hivyo nikiwaona hapa nafurahia, maana yake najua kazi tuliyofanya wakati ule leo hii bado inabobea na bado wameshikilia umoja wa Pwani. Asante Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Honorable, what's your point of order, the Honorable Minority Leader?
Thank you very much, the Honorable Speaker. Before I get to my substantive issue, I just want to echo what the Leader Majority had said earlier on the appearance of Cabinet Secretaries. You know, today I came here eager to meet my good friend Moses Kuria, but unfortunately he's not been able to come. But Honorable Speaker, you know, Moses Kuria had one time written to this House, to the speakers, I think, asking for a high-level meeting to discuss how government business is to be processed in this House. So I would have expected him to be the first person to come here so as to be able to be seized of these issues. But all the same, that is by the way. I hope that in the coming weeks we shall see more and more of the CSS coming on time and as invited. Honorable Speaker, the issue I'm raising on a point of order on is the matter of the... Oh, sorry.
What's your point of information, Majority Leader?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I thank the Leader of Minority for allowing me to inform him, because I responded to that particular letter that the Honorable Pio Wandai refers to, when the Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria wrote to the Speaker, asking the Speaker that he wants to convene what was termed as a high-level meeting to discuss how Parliament will process government bills, Honorable Speaker. When we requested the Ministry of Public Service and Delivery, because, Honorable Speaker, we understood probably Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria might have confused this House as part of the public service. And he wanted, therefore, to supervise how we do our work. And we checked with his ministry what were their concerns, what bills had not been processed. Honorable Speaker, it's important to put it on record that when we checked the list of bills that Moses Kuria sent to us that were pending, 9 bills had already been assented to by His Excellency the President, having been considered and passed by this House. 52 out of the 56 regulations that he claimed were pending in Parliament, 52 had already been adopted by the House. Some of the other bills that he claimed had not been processed as government bills was a bill belonging to the leader of minority. And I do not know whether the leader of minority processes any bills on behalf of government. It was a private member's bill belonging to the leader of minority, and therefore we duly informed the cabinet secretary and also appraised him with the current structure of government, that the office charged with the responsibility of coordinating work between the executive and the legislature is the office of the prime cabinet secretary. And therefore that matter, I believe, was put on the Honorable Pio, and we did respond appropriately to Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria. But I agree with Opio and the same way he wrote should have been him writing to the House, not his principal secretary.
We proceed, Honorable Vandai.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the issue I wanted to raise is this, and it's very important that we pay attention as members. The financial year 2023-2024 is just 3 or so months shy of coming to a close. And you know, Honorable Speaker, the performance of the budget is dependent to a large extent on how monies are released, on the exchequer releases and the absorption of the exchequer releases by the respective ministries and state departments. Honorable Speaker, we know that every budget cycle we undertake public participation. And upon such public participation, monies are appropriated. I am talking specifically about public participation money in the Ministry of Roads, in the State Department of Roads. That money is budgeted for every other financial year. And this financial year I'm talking about, that not even a single cent of that money has been disbursed. From the National Treasury to the ministry, and from the ministry, therefore, to the respective agencies. For budget performance, the kind of employment generation we are talking about through the housing project, the affordable housing project, is the same kind of employment we would generate through roads, maintenance, and constructions. So what is good for the goose is certainly good for the gander. If employment can come from affordable housing, it can similarly come from road maintenance and construction works. Therefore, my issue is this. What is it that is stopping the National Treasury from releasing funds towards public participation budgeted works in the State Department of Roads? And this is an issue that concerns every member here, because those roads don't exist in the air. Roads are in the constituencies, which we represent. We don't want a situation where once money has been appropriated, then some people go and sit in some dark corner somewhere and determine which one to be disbursed, which one not to be disbursed. That would certainly be tantamount undermining the authority and power of this August House. So I want to plead with you, Honorable Speaker, to allow a few members to contribute to this very important matter, because this is a matter that is so serious that can cause problems between this House and the executive. Honorable Speaker, this House remains an independent institution. We are not beholden to anybody, any other authority. We only defer to the Speaker when in this House. And once we make a decision such as passing an appropriation bill, which then becomes an appropriation act, and money continues to be collected by KRA, the money must be disbursed. You must release the exchequer to the respective, and especially on a matter concerning roads, we won't allow you to get away with it. So I would want you to compel Leader of Majority to follow up with the National Treasury and come back here with a definite statement, if possible tomorrow. But before you do so, please allow some members to ventilate so that we can get the gist of the matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. I will, if there's interest, I'll give at least 2 and 2, and then we move to the next order. So you need to key in on intervention. And the first intervention I see here is the Honorable Bashir Abdullahi. Do you want to speak on this? The Honorable David Gikaria is in the House at intervention. Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, first of all, I want to thank the Majority Leader for being very candid on matters of these cabinet secretaries and what they do. Honorable Speaker, it is very unfortunate. Last week, it was the same excuse, this week, and you know how important in the last parliament when we came and we amended our standing order so that we can allow cabinet secretaries to be coming here instead of committee chairs coming to answer questions that are written. So we needed and that is how important it was for these cabinet secretaries to be coming before the floor of the House. So it is important, Honorable Speaker, as Majority Leader has indicated, we must also, I think something that we forgot, in case of now this could be a trend. And you can imagine a week, 4 weeks in a month, they only come 4 times. If we don't make it then, it means pushing forward. Most importantly also, Honorable Speaker, is also that they have that tendency also of not even coming before committees. That every time you try to request a cabinet secretary to come before a committee.
Order, Honorable Gikaria. You know we had moved from that matter you are discussing. And we were now dealing with the point of order that the Leader of Minority rose on. So I want to declare you out of order and give the Honorable Mwenje to speak on this. Mwenje, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the issue that has been spoken by the Leader of Minority, I can't emphasize it further than even what he's already done. Because money that has already been appropriated for purposes of roads. And Honorable Speaker, I want to speak even about Nairobi, Honorable Speaker. We have so many roads that have remained undone. We have money that was appropriated even in previous parliaments. We have pending bills that have remained unpaid so that those contractors can complete some of those projects, Honorable Speaker. So it is important that the Ministry of Roads, and more so the CS, ensures that those funds that have been appropriated here by this House are used effectively as per what was agreed in the other floor of this House, Honorable Speaker. Because otherwise, we end up in a situation where money which is supposed to build roads in our constituencies is not getting there, as has been mentioned. And that is affecting us, Honorable Speaker. So we want to ensure, kindly, the Ministry of Finance must ensure these funds are released and they are utilized the way they ought to be used for purposes of development of our roads, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'd want to request there are members here who wanted to contribute to this issue, Honorable Speaker, if you can allow it to be 4-4 so that we can ventilate on this issue and just keep it under 1 minute, Honorable Speaker. Kindly, your indulgence, please.
The Honorable KJ.
Honorable Speaker, this is an extremely serious matter. And I want to support the Honorable Leader of Majority for raising this matter, the Honorable Leader of Minority. It affects every single constituency. Honorable Speaker, some people might be imagining that Nairobi is extremely well covered in terms of road network. But when you think about it, even previous programs on roads in Nairobi have actually failed. The most recent one being the roads that had been earmarked for development in slum upgrading program. Mr. Speaker, we are on record in this House as members of Parliament saying that the work that was done was extremely shoddy. People were laying cabro on what you call cotton soil in our constituencies, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the big issue here is Parliament taking its place, its rightful place in budgeting. No other house, no other institution, no other entity has the role of appropriating monies in the budget. And when it is appropriated by Parliament, everything else is automatic machination to ensure that it gets to the constituency, and no one should appropriate responsibilities that they are not their own to go and appropriate after Parliament has appropriated. So, Honorable Speaker, allow me 1 minute to also add that the questions that are asked in this House, some of them, time is of essence. So when a cabinet secretary does not show up, for example, the cabinet secretary was to be appearing today.
Order, Honorable KJ.
I'll just be very short on this one.
We had actually dealt with a matter of questions. So you have made your point.
Yes, I'll be 1 minute, Mr. Speaker.
No, the interest is very high, so please take your
place. Much obliged,
Honorable Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to also reiterate what the minority leader has said, especially the issue of roads. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, the CS in charge of finance must wake up and do his job. It looks very easy, Honorable Speaker, to sit in an office and fail to know that Kenyans are out there suffering. I just want to look at a scenario, Honorable Speaker, a situation where El Nino was here with us. The roads up country were damaged. And immediately after the roads were damaged, there were promises that they'll be done. In addition to that, Honorable Speaker, there is also the money that was voted for in this House that was meant for RML to go down to various constituencies. That money has not been dispersed. In addition to that, Honorable Speaker, there are also those roads which were begun some times back in form of tarmac, like the C41 in my constituency, Honorable Speaker. It is not done in really sense, Honorable Speaker. What has happened is supposed to be maintained. That has not been done. There is no money which has been sent to that. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it's important. Let the CS in charge of finance be called to order by this House and let him live up to the role that he was given so that he can get us the money in our various constituencies. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Finally, the Chair Rhodes. Are you in the House?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I followed what the leader of minority has raised, and I want to agree with the House that we do appropriate budgets, but the responsibility to release funds is of rise with the Treasury. So we have done our part. The part to release, the responsibility to release funds is with the ministry. I do not want to say more on this matter. Thank you.
Very well. I think we shall close that matter at that particular level, unless the leader of majority wants to speak on it.
Yeah.
Yes, let's hear the leader, and then we wind up on that particular matter.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me thank the leader of minority for raising that issue. And public participation, Honorable Speaker, is a constitutional imperative. And since the advent of this new constitution, every year, the Budget and Appropriations Committee has devoted funds to public participation, which must be disbursed as approved and appropriated by the House without any undue delay. However, Honorable Speaker, there are also other issues. And I am certain many members here are aware of the other issues pertaining especially to the sector of roads. But I will pick up the issue on the actual public participation money other than the others that members are aware of, part of which is an issue that was addressed here by the Cabinet Secretary for Roads when he appeared here. And Honorable Speaker, because there is that other matter that was very well addressed by the Cabinet Secretary for Roads, which I am certain we do not want to delve into now, but for the public participation one, I will get to the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, to first provide us with a list so that we ensure that it is in the counties that we carry out public participation. Because public participation ordinarily, and I see the Honorable Dan, member for...
The leader order. The leader is on a point of order. Let him proceed. Proceed, leader.
Thank you. Honorable Dan Mwashako is a seasoned member of the Budget Committee, and we will tell you the public participation funds are usually done, we used to do them for about 11 counties per year. so that by the end of 4 years, we have covered all the 47 counties. And the budget that is available for that exercise, ordinarily we had started with 1.2 billion. I think by 2019, when I was shipped out of the Budget and Appropriations Committee by the previous regime, we are approaching about 1.82 billion shillings. And I know that amount of about 2 billion shillings is still available for public participation, including this year. But it's also important, Honorable Speaker, that the Budget and Appropriations Committee makes it a very open and transparent system where in your report you inform the House which particular counties are you doing public participation in a particular year, so that you also get the involvement and ownership by these members of parliament who represent their constituencies. So, for instance, when you're going to Siaya, the leader of minority should know that you're going to Siaya so that he mobilizes the public to come and give you the projects that are of priority basis to the people. Because, Honorable Speaker, there is always a temptation for people to sit and appropriate resources based on what they think are priorities for people. The essence of public participation was when the Budget and Appropriations Committee goes for public participation in the identified counties, they're able to get issues that are of pertinent concern to citizens within that particular county or constituencies and were not factored in the budget and have them factored in the budget. But I think, Honorable Speaker, with time, unfortunately, and I say this unfortunately, we have begun losing the very essence of that public participation, and we need to get back our rails on track. But, Honorable Speaker, the issue raised by the leader of minority, as I have said, I'll pick it up with the National Treasury.
Honorable members, that matter will rest there for now. Before we move to the next order, let me acknowledge the presence in the House and in the Speaker's Gallery, Othaya Girls High School, Othaya constituency, Nyeri County. Honorable members, let me also acknowledge in the public gallery this afternoon, Elbagon Secondary School, Molo constituency, Nakuru. Any member of parliament from Nyeri, just to welcome those students, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to take this opportunity to welcome Othaya Girls Secondary School to this August House. This is one of the leading institutions in Nyeri, and that is performing very well as an extra county school. And Honorable Speaker, this opportunity for these young girls to come and get exposed to the proceedings of the August House as we debate on matters that are of national importance and that affect the population and the nation as a whole. I want to encourage them to take note of the number of women legislators who are in Parliament today. And actually, Honorable Speaker, I want to commend the ladies because quite a number are present today. And this is an inspiration to them that they can aim higher, and this place is also a destination for them. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order. Order, members, we move to statements. The Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2D, I rise to make a statement on the leadership of the Committee on the Members' Services and Facilities and the Committee of Powers and Privileges, which were reconstituted on Tuesday, 5th, 2024. Honorable Speaker, Standing Order 212B establishes that the Committee on Members' Services and Facilities and provides that the committee shall consist of a chairperson and not more than 14 other members who shall be approved by the House at the commencement of every session. Further, Honorable Speaker, Standing Order 178-1 partly provides that unless provided under any written law, standing orders, or by resolution of the House, a select committee shall, upon appointment, elect a chairperson, a vice chairperson from among its members. Honorable Speaker, following the reconstitution and approval of the members to serve in the committee on Tuesday, 5th March 2024, pursuant to Standing Order 212B3, the Clerk of the National Assembly, in exercise of the powers conferred under the provisions of Standing Order 179-2, declared a vacancy of the office of chairperson and vice chairperson of the committee on Wednesday, 6th March 2024. Honorable Speaker, Standing Order 179-1 requires that the clerk to appoint a place and date and time of the first meeting of the committee within 7 days of its constitution by the House, or such other further period as the Speaker may approve. In compliance with the said standing order, the clerk appointed Tuesday, 12 March 2024 at 4 p.m. as the date and time for the conduct of the elections, which took place in Room 9 at the main Parliament buildings. Honorable Speaker, Standing Order 179 specifies the form of a candidate's nomination paper as prescribed in the 5th schedule to the standing orders. The nomination papers were issued as prescribed and whereof by the deadline on the submission of the nomination papers on Monday, 11th March 2024 at 5 p.m., the following honorable members had submitted duly filled nomination forms. They are as follows. 1, the Honorable Dr. Stephen Wachira Karani, MP for the position of chairperson. And 2, the Honorable Faisal Bada Salim, MP for the position of vice chairperson. Honorable Speaker, Standing Order 179-12 provides that if only one candidate is nominated for the election as chairperson or vice chairperson, the clerk shall, at the expiry of the nomination period, forthwith declare that that candidate as elected without any vote required. Consequently, having received only one nomination from each of the positions, the clerk declared the Honorable Dr. Stephen Wachira Karani, MP, and the Honorable Faisal Bada Salim, MP, duly elected as chairperson and vice chairperson of the Committee on Member Services and Facilities, respectively. Honorable Speaker, in line with Standing Order 179-14, I therefore notify the House that the Honorable Dr. Stephen Wachira Karani, MP, and the Honorable Faisal Bada Salim, MP, were duly elected as chairperson and vice chairperson of the Committees on Member Services and Facilities, respectively. Honorable Speaker, the House may recall that the Committee of Powers and Privileges, which is chaired by the Right Honorable Speaker, was also reconstituted on 5th March 2024. Whereas the law establishing the committee does not provide for the office of vice chairperson, it has become an established practice of the House for the Speaker to designate a member of the committee to perform the duties of the vice chairperson and represent the committee in the liaison committee. In this regard, I also notify the House that the Speaker designated the Honorable Joseph Lekuton, CBS MP, as the vice chairperson of the Committee of Powers and Privileges, who shall also sit in the liaison committee as the Speaker's representatives. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 8, the Regional Development Authorities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023, second reading, resumption of debate.
The Honorable Tindi Mwale, not being in the House. The Honorable John Mutunga, had you spoken on this? Honorable members, who could refresh the screen, remove your cards and key in afresh, because most of the members who are on the list are not possibly interested in speaking on this. So, very well, you can now key in. Very well, the Honorable Maina Madenge, Nyeri Town. Had you spoken on this? I suspect you had spoken on this. The Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi. Is Ferdinand Wanyonyi in the House? Not ready. The Honorable Makali, 'Makali' 'Mulu. 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 'Makali' '
Oh, yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity to add my voice into this important bill. I was prepared to do it yesterday, but time did not allow, so I'm very happy that now I have the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by supporting this important bill, the bill on regional authorities. As opening remarks, Honorable Speaker, we all know that we have quite a number of these regional authorities in this country, and most of them have been administered from different acts of parliament. So it's very important when I see one bill which attempts to consolidate all the regional authorities into one bill, Honorable Speaker, because that is going to ensure that we streamline the operations of these regional authorities by having a uniform structure on how to manage them. But even as we do that, Honorable Speaker, it is important that we look at some of the challenges which have been faced by these regional authorities, so that we make sure that this final bill, when it becomes an act of parliament, those challenges have been adequately addressed in the bill. Honorable Speaker, one of the challenges we are facing in this country with regional authorities is the challenge of inadequate funding. Honorable Speaker, normally these regional authorities are supposed to be serving the development needs of this country. That means you need both a recurrent budget and a development budget, Honorable Speaker. But over time, what has happened, because of inadequacies of funding, you realize that the recurrent budget is being provided, and in most cases, very minimal budget for development. So they don't end up serving the purposes for which they are created. So one of the things you need to be very clear on, Honorable Speaker, is to make sure that these important authorities in this country, we must provide resources for them so that other than just paying salaries, they go to that extra mile to ensure that development is also implemented in this country through them. Some of them play very key roles, Honorable Speaker. For example, those ones in the water authorities. Water is a major problem in our ASO and semi-ASO areas in this country. And if those authorities were effective, if they were efficient, they would have done a lot in sorting out that matter. So for me, from where I sit, one of the reasons why I'm supporting this bill would be to have a structure, a financial framework, to make sure that they are adequately funded. The other matter which is critical, Honorable Speaker, and which keeps on coming up every time we see it, is the issue of duplication of roles, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you realize that some of the work they are doing, duplication is at two levels. There's duplication at the national level, and there's duplication at the county level. Honorable Speaker, some of the functions being performed by these regional authorities, Honorable Speaker, you realize there is duplication. There is a lot of, you take one and another one, you find that they are doing almost the same thing, and it's like where one stops, it's not very clear, one stops, another one starts. So you find there is overlap. And one of the things should be sorting out, Honorable Speaker, through this bill, is to ensure that each of the regional authorities which is going to remain after restructuring, Honorable Speaker, that we have a very clear mandate for them. So that, for example, I want to say this, Honorable Speaker, about 2 weeks, we did visit my constituency, where we have the Tanavi Development Authority, and we have then the National Water and Harvesting Authority. Water and Water Harvesting Storage Authority, Honorable Speaker. Now, you find one of the dams we have in my constituency is called Kalundu Dam. Kalundu Dam was done by the National Water and Harvesting Authority, but after completing the implementation, Honorable Speaker, there wasn't that proper handing over from that dam to Atanathi, which is now the local authority covering our area. So because of that lack of proper handing over, you find that that dam currently is not serving the purpose you were supposed to be serving, Honorable Speaker. Because the river is polluted, the intention was to do small-scale irrigation in the area. But because there was no proper handing over, then we have faced that challenge of the dam being there, but not really serving the purpose. So one of the areas we must address, Honorable Speaker, is to ensure that even at the national level, Honorable Speaker, we don't have overlaps in terms of functions. In that case, then we'll be able to have them serving specific functions and helping Kenyans. The other level of overlap, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of the county and the national government. Honorable Speaker, most of the functions being performed by these regional authorities are devolved. For example, water is devolved, Honorable Speaker, and you find that it is not clear what the county government needs to do and what the authority needs to do. And it's also not very clear at what point do they work together because they are doing the same function. So that confusion, Honorable Speaker, what has happened is that because of that confusion, then you have conflict always. That what the regional authorities are doing, Honorable Speaker, county governments are complaining that they are taking over their role. So we must also make sure through this bill, Honorable Speaker, that we come out clearly in terms of what belongs to the county government and what belongs to the regional authorities. In that case, then we'll minimize the authority. The other thing, Honorable Speaker, the county government are also having an argument that it makes sense that the reason why they are not getting the rightful share in terms of equitable sharing is because some of the money which should be with them is being left at Nairobi to take care of functions which are already devolved, Honorable Speaker. So in that case, they are saying, if we were very clear in terms of what is devolved and what is not devolved, then county governments will be able to get more resources from the national government without even adding any resource from in terms of revenue collection, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, these are some of the critical issues I think we need to address as a country. The other thing is the issue of the administrative framework, Honorable Speaker. In most cases, these regional authorities have been used as an employment bureau, Honorable Speaker, where the politicians, as included, see these bodies as a way of creating employment for our supporters, Honorable Speaker. And anytime you visit them, you look at the board composition, you look at who is employed there, Honorable Speaker, you will find that there is a very close alignment of the minister and the people working in those bodies or the board managing the regional authorities. In that case, Honorable Speaker, then you find that we lose what I will call the issue of focusing more on competencies so that we get people who can manage them. And that's why the other day you had the Deputy Majority Leader saying, I wish is that the coast Development Authority was being managed by people from the coast. Because to me, that's just a clear confirmation that we are thinking of areas where we create jobs for our people, which is not the right way, Honorable Speaker. So as we enact this law, Honorable Speaker, we must make sure that we have a very clear description of who qualifies to be a board member in these authorities, who qualifies to be employed in these authorities, and we focus more on merit other than connections. Because the challenge we have in this country, Honorable Speaker, is when it comes to matters of who joins which board and matters of who is employed where, the focus is more on how do I relate the connections you have as opposed to the merit. And I think time has come that as a House, we need to make sure that now we focus more on merit, Honorable Speaker. And if we do that, then we'll be helping this country. The last point, Honorable Speaker, as I allow other members to contribute, is the point of the numbers. We have so many of these regional authorities, Honorable Speaker. You wonder whether the number we have should be the optimum number, Honorable Speaker. I do believe we could do with a smaller number than we have and still achieve the same outcome. So to me, from where I sit, we should be looking at it from what do we want to achieve at the end of the day? What result do we want to achieve? And then work backwards, Honorable Speaker, coming to a point to say, how many regional authorities do we need to achieve the desired result? If we go that way, then we'll get the right number, Honorable Speaker. The number of regional authorities should be more efficient, effective, and which can be accountable to Kenyans in terms of the resources we are pumping to them. So, Honorable Speaker, as I support this bill, I think honorable members need to make sure that when it comes to that reading, we are very clear in terms of what do we need to do to make sure that Kenyans get value for money. And in this era where we have shortage of resources, Honorable Speaker, this bill could not have come at a better time to make sure that we streamline these regional authorities and then we achieve for Kenyans and push Kenya to the next level. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, what's your point of order, Honorable Wanjiku Muhia?
Honorable Speaker, I'm starting on standing order number 95 to notify you that this bill has been sufficiently debated, and therefore I request if you could call the mover to reply. Honorable Speaker, many of us you see here are waiting for the next order. Thank you.
Honorable members, the member has risen from his place on standing order number 95, that the mover be called upon to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank all the members who made contributions in this bill, and also thank the members of the Regional Development Committee for working hard and ensuring that we get the report of this bill, and of course availing themselves yesterday to make their contributions. So, Honorable Speaker, as I rise to reply, I echo majority of the sentiments as exposed by honorable members in this House. Now, Honorable Speaker, I want to bring to the attention of this House the provisions of Article 189(2) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 that outlines the importance of cooperation among the different levels of government. That is between the national government and the county government. Honorable Speaker, by combining Honorable Speaker, Honorable Ferdinand is asking for some time, but maybe at the end of my time, I'll give him about 2 minutes. That will work, that will be fine. So, Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that now combining the strengths of the national and county governments through RDS will help
Order,
us.
Chair, the procedure would be that if you want Honorable Ferdinand to speak on this, then let him go first and then take very little time. But you had already begun doing your business on this particular bill. I guide that you may proceed. He will speak on another matter. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying that now combining the strengths of the RDS, who are national government agencies, together with county governments, will, when they join forces, this will ensure that we tackle regional inequalities, will give them strength to boost economic progress and improve the overall quality of life throughout this country, everywhere in this country. Honorable Speaker, now these partnerships between the county and national government helps to avoid duplication of projects, ensuring that initiatives align with broader regional plans and promote a unified approach to addressing regional challenges. Now, Honorable Speaker, moreover, counties and RDS now often possess complementary resources that when combined, maybe through various funding such as of infrastructure, because the regional development authorities have skilled personnel. Now, through collaboration, they will be able to achieve much as they combine, that's the regional development authorities plus the county government. Now, it is in this spirit, Honorable Speaker, that the National Dialogue Committee now recommended in paragraph 833Q of their report that the constituting acts like the ones we are now proposing of regional development authorities, that is RDS, be amended to provide for representation of county governments in the boards of the regional development authorities. So, Honorable Speaker, this is to tell you that even during the National Dialogue Committee engagement, issues of RDS came up. and there was a recommendation. And I'm sure, Honorable Speaker, that this House and Kenyans are waiting for the implementation of the NARCO report. And within that NARCO report, Honorable Speaker, you've had in paragraph 833Q, mention was made of the regional development authorities to tell you that even those who participated in that NARCO committee recognized the importance of RDS. That is why they had it in their report. Now, Honorable Speaker, again, this aligns, the RDS, this aligns with the provisions of Article 189 of the Constitution on the need for collaboration. And Honorable Speaker, in section 32J of this bill, it talks about consultation and collaboration between the RDS and the county governments. Now, Honorable Speaker, RDS remain vital entities in our country's development landscape, that their diverse functions and proven capacity to foster socio-economic growth while effectively managing resources, and we are talking about the best invested resources in this case for RDS, they play a pivotal role in driving sustainable growth and resource management nationwide or throughout this country. Now, Honorable Speaker, I implore fellow honorable members who have dissenting opinion to support this bill in order to continue with their mandate of alleviating poverty, improving development of infrastructure, industries, social services. I therefore request these members to bring amendments to the bill at the committee stage so that we can improve the bill to make it even better. Honorable Speaker, the RDS are credited for conceptualization and implementation of the following mega projects in this country. One, the Masinga and Kiambere multipurpose dams on River Tana, that was done between 1984 to 1987. Now, the Takwel multipurpose dam on River Takwel, which was done between 1986 and 1991, Honorable Speaker. The Sondu River multipurpose project on River Sondu, under which Sondu Miriu hydropower was implemented in 1990. Now, Honorable Speaker, Mwache Dam multipurpose development project implementation is ongoing. Now, Honorable Speaker, now in addition, there are several concepts and feasibility studies on integrated multipurpose projects by the various regional development authorities at the stage of resource mobilization. And Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting here that RDS have done a lot of feasibility studies, and therefore they are at a stage of trying to mobilize resources so that they implement what they have already projected to do and what they already have done feasibility studies on. Now, some of the projects where the RDS have done feasibility studies, Honorable Speaker, include the following. The High Grand Falls Multipurpose Reservoir on River Tana, Nandi Multipurpose Reservoir on River Yala, the Magwagwa Multipurpose Reservoir on River Sondu. Now, Lower Ewaso Nyiro River Basin Integrated Multipurpose Dams Project, Aror River Basin Integrated Multipurpose Project, the Takwel Downstream Irrigation Project as part of the Takwel Dam Multipurpose Integrated Project. Honorable Speaker, it is also worth noting here that the regional development authorities transcend counties. You will find that one regional authority, Honorable Speaker, covers more than 4 or 5 counties. And it is therefore important to know that the works done by counties may not really be equated to the works done by the regional development authorities. Now, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that counties have their work cut out. And this bill is now trying to standardize the memberships of boards of RDS. And in our committee report, we recommended, which will bring at an appropriate time, 9. Then 2, we want to bring all the RDS under one act. Honorable Speaker, now with this many, because I see time is up, with these few remarks, I want to ask honorable members of this House that we pass this bill.
Give him 1 minute to conclude.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for adding me 1 minute. Honorable Speaker, I was requesting honorable members that we pass this bill, move to the next stage, where we have also proposed as a committee amendments, including amending the number of board members from 12 to 9 and other amendments that as a committee we have proposed. Honorable Speaker, with these few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. The question to this particular bill will be put during the next session. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, compliance to Article 54(2) of the Constitution regarding employment of persons with disability in public institutions.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities. Is the chair in the House?
Yes, I'm here.
Proceed.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I have been waiting for this for a long time, me and my team. Mr. Speaker, the Committee of National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity requests this House to adopt the report of the report of the committee on the compliance of Article 542 of the Constitution regarding employment of persons with disability in the public institutions, which was laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, the 21st February, 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Committee of National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity resolved to carry out inquiry into the employment diversity in public institutions, specifically on the status of the compliance of the composition of persons with disability in the public institutions pursuant to Article 54(2) of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, to achieve this objective, to sample 39 public institutions for its report on the compliance of the status of employment of people with disability. Subsequently, the committee invited the compliance with the same. The main objective of the inquiry is to assess the representation of people with disability within the public institutions of Kenya. Specifically, the committee requested the institutions to provide the following. 1, status of compliance with Article 54(2) of the Constitution on composition of persons with disability in the institutions. 2, assess the distribution of persons with disability across different cadres of institutions. 3, measures put in place to make sure workplace is suitable and friendly for persons with disability. Honorable Speaker, in this audit, the committee observed the need for public service to ensure equitable opportunity for the appointments, training, advancement of persons with disability. However, the committee notes that since the promulgation of the Constitution 2010, the public institutions have not complied with the required threshold for persons with disability, which is 5% as per the Constitution. Unfortunately, the average percentage of persons with disability representation in the institutions is 2.1%, where the Constitution says minimum of 5%, the average for 39 institutions is 2.1%. Honorable Speaker, additionally, most institutions that appear before the committee submitted that they do not receive applications from persons with a disability as required, hence low representation. Despite the provision of Article 54(2) of the Constitution 2010, which requires persons with a disability should of adoption of this should initiate the amendment of persons with disability should initiate the amendment of Persons with Disability Act to align with Article 54(2) of the Constitution. Number 3, within 6 months of adoption of this report, the public institutions should formulate, put into effect, comprehensive disability mainstreaming policies to encompass all facets of the workplaces. Number 4, within 3 months of adoption of this report, the National Council for People with Disability should make positive measures to facilitate comprehensive registration of persons with disability in their database. 5, the institutions should implement affirmative action focused on retirement, on recruitment, outreach efforts, awareness campaign to increase the representation of people with disability. Number 6, public institutions should align their human resource policies with the requirement of the retirement age for people living with disabilities and inform people living with disabilities their rights. Number 7, institutions should submit reports to National Council of People with Disability and encourage people with disabilities to participate in decision-making processes and challenge the cultural norms through campaigns and education. Honorable Speaker, sir, it is even after this report, after these 39 institutions, the committee went ahead and looked into so many others, maybe about 60-something institutions of the government. And all in all, the average is 2.1. This is a gross violation of the Constitution, Article 54(2) of the 2010 Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I submit And I take this opportunity to request my deputy, Honorable Chelule, to second. Asante.
Honorable Chelule.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kunipatia nafasi huu. Niunge mkono mswada ambaye imeletwa kwenye bunge huu na chairman wetu wa National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity. Nimefurahi sana leo hii report kufika mbele ya bunge hili. Tumejaribu kwa muda ya wiki karibu 4 tukiketi hapa kwenye hii bunge. Kwa hivyo nimefurahi kama member ya hii kamati kwamba imewekwa mbele ya bunge hili. Na ninataka kuchukua nafasi kupongeza chairman na kupongeza members ya kamiti yetu ambaye wengi wameketi kwenye bunge adhuhuri ya leo. Ninafurahi sana mimi nikiwa vice chair ama nikiwa msaidizi mdogo wa chairman wetu. Ninaunga mkono na ninasema vile imefika mbele yenu wajumbe wenzangu, ningependa sana tutilie maanane mambo ambayo inahusu wale watu wasiojiweza. Tunajua tuko na hawa kule nyumbani, wengine ni madada zetu, wengine ni mandugu zetu, wengine ni majirani, wengine tunaenda kanisa pamoja, na wengine ya hawa ni watu ambaye pia wanaajibika katika familia zao na wanataka usaidizi. Utapata kwamba wengi hawajaweza kujiandikisha kwa vikundi, utapata wengi hawajaweza hata kupata habari kwamba kuna kazi imetangazwa mahali fulani. Kwa hivyo ninachukua hii nafasi kuomba wajumbe wenzangu kwamba tusimame imara na hawa, na ningependa kusema tutaanza na maofisi yetu. Ningeomba kwamba kama uko na ofisi ya serikali ama yako kibinafsi, tuwapatie nafasi kulingana na sheria ambaye tumeambiwa na chairman wetu. Kwa hivyo ninachukua hii nafasi kusema ni kazi yetu kama viongozi kutetea hawa watu. Tunaelewa kwamba hawajiwezi kwa njia moja ama nyingine, lakini hiyo haimaanishi hawatafanya kazi. Kwa hivyo ninachukua hii nafasi kuwaomba wajumbe wenzangu kwamba wapatie nafasi kwa mambo ya basari, wapatiwe nafasi katika maofisi yao. Tuangalie itakapokuja hapa kuongelewa, sisi wote tutatazama kama viongozi, kama wajumbe, jinsi vile tutawasaidia kule nyumbani. Kwa hayo machache Bwana Spika, ninaomba kuunga mkono mswada huu ambaye imeletwa katika bunge hili. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana. Honorable members, I propose the question that this House adopts the committee. Let me take it again. Honorable members, I propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities on the compliance of Article 54(2) of the Constitution regarding employment of persons with disabilities in public institutions, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 21st February 2024. The first bite goes to Honorable John Namoit, Turkana South. The Honorable John Namoit. In the absence of the Honorable John Namoit, second is the Honorable Harrison Kombe, Magarini.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi ya kuweza kuchangia taarifa ambayo imetoka kwa kamati ya uwiano. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hakika katika yale mashirika tulioweza kuwaita mbele ya kamati na tukakagua stakabadhi zao, tumepata kujionea kwamba kiwango kile cha watu wasiojiweza ama walemavu kilikuwa kiko chini ya wastani iliyokuwa inahitajika na iliyopendekezwa ndani ya katiba. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna haja, ulemavu si ugonjwa wala kuwa mlemavu haimaanishi kwamba huwezi kufanya kazi. Hivyo kuna haja ya kwamba nyanja zote tukapate kuwahusisha na kuwaajiri walemavu. Kisungumzia hivi, ningetaka kuwa mfano katika kamati yangu ya CDF nimeweza kujumuisha walemavu ndani, na pia vile vile hata kwa wale waajiriwa wa ofisi pia nimeweza kujumuisha walemavu. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimepata kuona mlemavu wakati mwingine akiwa katibu wa kudumu katika wizara husika, wakati huo ambapo tulipokuwa na mafuriko sehemu za Bate katika sehemu yangu ya bunge ya Magarini, tuliweza kuona ya kwamba anahusika vilivyo na kuhakikisha ya kwamba wale wote ambao wameathirika wakati huo wameweza kuhamishwa na kupelekwa katika sehemu ambazo ni za sawa, na pia vile vile wameweza kupelekewa chakula kutoka kwa wizara yake. Mheshimiwa Spika, kusema ule ukweli na nikinukuu kwa lugha ile ya kigeni, disability is not inability. Uko uwezo wa kufanya vyema zaidi hata kuliko wale walio wazima, na pia kuwa mlemavu haijamaanisha ya kwamba wewe uwe ni mtu wa kubaguliwa. Katiba imekataa masuala hayo ya kubagua walemavu na kubagua mtu mwingine yeyote yule kwa sababu ya maumbile yake. Leo hii tuwazima wengine wetu, lakini haijamaanisha kwamba uzaliwavyo ndivyo unavyozeeka. Kwa mara nyingi tumepata kuona watu wakihusika kwa ajali na hivyo kupoteza maumbile yao na kuwa walemavu. Ningeuliza bunge hili likaweze kuunga mkono taarifa hii ili kwamba tukaweze kuwaweka mahali wanapostahili walemavu kama Wakenya wengine. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
The Honorable Wanjiku Muhia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Indeed, I was waiting for this report. And first, I want to congratulate the committee. The report is very, very well done. It's a beautiful report, considering they even did an audit of 39 institutions, which can indicate how our country looks like. Honorable Speaker, I think the Act of 2003 is about to be repealed. In fact, it is in the process. And I see quite a number of beautiful points in this report. And therefore, I hope the chair and the committee will also be coming to the relevant committee to give input to improve the new act that is expected. Honorable Speaker, as this committee was doing an audit, I think it would only have been fair if they started by Parliament, because when you are auditing, it is also good if you could audit yourself. And as such, personally, I can say I have complied. I have 2 persons with disability in my constituency, not specifically in the CDF, because I know in NGCDF the law requires, but outside NGCDF, in the constituency office. And therefore, I ask the honorable members, the 290 of us and the women reps, to also audit themselves and see if they can create a position, 1 or 2. And if the country would move in that direction and the counties would also create equal opportunities, then we would be somewhere. I also want to urge the Honorable House of Senate to do a similar audit to the counties, because this is their mandate and this committee could not have audited the counties. I know the county of Uasin Gishu, I know the county of Kericho, which is rated very highly. And in fact, during the Governor Madago, he was rated the best county to have employed so many deaf persons in the county of Uasin Gishu. As we call the county governments in the rest part of the country, I asked the Senate to consider if they could do this audit, but before they do it, let us audit ourselves. Because, Honorable Speaker, we say the government, but we are the government. Before we audit the ministry, let's audit ourselves. However, Honorable Speaker, this report is based on census of 2019, which we all know it is disputed, and therefore the figures that are put here couldn't be real. We know the census in this country are after 10 years. But I may plead with the government, considering the very desperate situations that all of us have witnessed last year during the registration of Inua Jamii, when we could not register thousands of people from persons with disability because they didn't have registration numbers. I would ask if the government, now that they devolved the National Council to the counties, could review the numbers of these people and also consider to improve in funding the National Council, which is the body entitled in considering matters of the persons with disability. Honorable Speaker, 5% is a very small percentage for us to attain as a nation. If you read through the report, you find the nation of Switzerland as the best in the world to have considerably given the employment opportunity to these people. But I'm also happy that in East Africa, in our bloc, the state of Rwanda, which is our partner state, is also rated very highly to have considered this. Honorable Speaker, time and again, persons with disability have lived on donations as if they are not citizens, and they live waiting for whatever happens in their life. It's time that the government make deliberate move, consider them, fund them through the budget in the avenues that they are working with, like the National Council, the Social Security, and the Ministry of Labor, and consider them just like Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, there is, of course, a conversation of the caregivers today. We may consider to give persons with disability jobs, but in the event it is not possible, the caregivers can be given the jobs and they can work and provide the essentials to their loved ones, and that data can be put as serving the person with the disability. I want to congratulate the Lake Victoria South Waterworks Development Agency for having been the highest out.
The Honorable James Nikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this. Mr. Speaker, this report is extremely important. It is looking at Article 54, and although it confines itself to 54.2, which is just basically about the employment, the 5% that is required for institutions to offer persons with disability. But Mr. Speaker, it actually needs to, and to some extent addresses the whole of 54. Mr. Speaker, there's no way we can attain the requirement of 54.2 if we do not look at the rest of 54, particularly B, which says access to educational institutions and facilities for persons with disability that are integrated into education system. Education is key to being employed. So there's no way you will think I'll get to 5 if you don't address education. If you look at C, Mr. Speaker, access to all places, public transport, and information. How can one to aid mobility. Now that includes schools, that includes working places, so that must be done. If you look at even public facilities like toilets, you must make sure that those are accessible. If you look at institutions of training, if there is no sign language, and I know when sign language became a national language, I remember that time during the process of the Constitution 2010, it is important, and only the media, particularly the television networks, actually have implemented this appropriately. I see it in most meetings. I don't know whether it's really working in schools. Mr. Speaker, we really need even to have Braille for every person who is blind. If you look at the lifts that we have, sometimes people see talking lifts, they think it's just modern. Basically, that is a requirement. Some lifts even have Braille. So people have not noticed. So all these are actually required. But it also indicates mainstreaming of disability in all institutions. Mr. Speaker, whatever we do, if all institutions do not realize and put in place and monitor the requirements of persons with disability, there is no way we'll achieve the employment that we are looking for. So, Mr. Speaker, I've looked at this report and the recommendations that it has put in place. They say within 3 months, all public institutions should review human resource policies to enhance representation of persons with disabilities. That can only happen if, in the first place, you have enabled, you have capacity built the persons with disabilities, you have given them the provisions that they require in the learning institutions way before that. So that's something. Within 6 months, in consultation with other stakeholders, are aimed at reviewing the Disability Act. In fact, that is extremely important. I know the Disability Act, there is an effort to review it. And so that must be done. But, Mr. Speaker, I will summarize it that mainstreaming is extremely important for this. Registration, we have a proper process of registration of persons with.
The Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to, on the very, very onset, stand to support this motion. First and foremost, Mr. Speaker, disability is not inability, is not sickness. When you are disabled, doesn't mean you are unable. You can do quite a number of things, and it's not that because you are sick. You are just physically disabled, and that could be, as we have all witnessed in our lives, that's actually God's creation. God actually created people like that. I've, for example, in my constituency, hired 2 very disabled fellows, and I want to tell this house, these guys are very hardworking, very sharp. If you have anything, those are the fellows I normally send out. And therefore, disability is not inability, it's not sickness. So we should be given equal opportunity to be able to work. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, again, there are people who are discriminative. And because somebody is disabled, it will maybe put on a wheelchair or something like that, they can't employ him. When this person can be able to work even better than an MD. And therefore, we should actually make this aware. People should be able to know that somebody, it doesn't matter if he's unable, but as long as he's actually able, and most of these people are very, very sharp. I have in my family one person who is actually disabled. And I can tell you, he has been doing so well as a teacher. And above all, his children are very sharp. In fact, 2 of his children are now, one is doing actually PhD. And The other one is doing other things and has been actually been able to get an opportunity to go to work in German. And that is, you look at the person, the father of this, you can't believe that he's a father. So most of it, that much as God has not given you the ability to do one or two things physically, but when it comes to the brains, oh boy, I can tell you that these people are normally very sharp. So therefore, I think this motion has come at the right time, and we want to take up this opportunity and encourage that institutions, schools and any other area that has got that kind of, like when you are doing construction, they should be able to have at least the construct a way where the inability to get to the place where other people are enjoying should be able to be provided, a ramp in the hours in schools, so that sometimes I gave a contract to one of the contractors, and he was building a story building for the second school, and there was no provision for inability. I said, now, today, of course, you don't have one, but tomorrow, there'll be somebody who actually is not able to walk up to the first floor. And therefore, I told him, I said, you now have to construct a ramp at your own cost, because you can't have a story building without a ramp. So therefore, the motion has come at the right time, and therefore, we should be able to assist those who are unable. And those who are not able to see, and again, we should be able to have institutions so that the sign languages are actually taught in some areas, so that those who are not able to see and whatever, they can be taught in those institutions. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to say this is a motion that has come at the right time, and I wholly support this motion. Thank you.
The Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also stand to support the report by the Committee of National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity, which I am a member of the same committee. Honorable Speaker, first of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our able leadership led by the Chair, Yusuf Adan, and our Vice, Lisa Chelule, on the very comprehensive report from the committee. And Honorable Speaker, first of all, I'd just like to point out some of the observations that we made while we were interviewing some of the institutions, the public institutions that we did interview. And Honorable Speaker, considering the fact that our Constitution in Article 54, subsection 2, it has been very clearly indicated that the ideal percentage for persons with disability in public institutions should be 5%. But Honorable Speaker, out of the 39 institutions that we did interview, only actually 24 fell short of that compliance. That is a total of 61% of those interviewed, which gives you an average of 2.1% of the persons with disability who are employed in our public institutions. Honorable Speaker, one of the things that we noticed was lacking is lack of an adequate and comprehensive policy in these institutions that clearly laid out the requirements for them to be able to have persons with disability there. The other issue was on the limited outreach, because each and every institution that we got an opportunity to interview were telling us that they were not having enough people who were persons with disability interviewing or coming forward to say that they wanted these particular jobs. Honorable Speaker, the other issue also that we noticed was the issue of staff training, lack of adequate number of staff who actually had adequate training on sign language or how to handle persons with disability. And Honorable Speaker, when you look at the report and notice some of the recommendations you made, the unique thing about our report is that not only did we make recommendations, but that we also gave a timeline for each and every recommendation that we made as a committee. For instance, Honorable Speaker, we indicated very clearly that we want to ensure that in 3 months, public institutions have human resource policies that directly spoke about and had issues in reference to persons with disability. Honorable Speaker, Another recommendation that we did make to all these institutions was that we asked them if they had even taken into consideration speaking to members of parliament or constituency offices, because we noted very clearly that members of parliament in their offices, they do have database of persons with disability within their constituencies. And one of the recommendations we made to the NCPWD was that they should check their database once more, compare notes with members of parliament to ensure that their database is actually updated to have a reflection of all the 290 constituencies and ensure they do have persons with disability in their records. The other thing, Honorable Speaker, that we recommended was the proactive registration of the database and updating of the same. And this we recommended as a committee that we want it done in 3 months. So therefore, which means that we will check again with the NCPWD to ensure that their records are up to date. Honorable Speaker, another recommendation that we strongly gave consideration was on the public institutions' collaboration with health insurance. Because one of the things that came up was that the health insurance coverage fund did not take into consideration how expensive it is for persons with disability to acquire their mobility tools like wheelchairs, like crutches, because this in most insurance funds is not covered. And finally, Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I just want to encourage the persons with disability who are out there, because we have had so many success stories of persons with disability who have actually confirmed that disability is not inability. And therefore, mine is just to urge them to ensure that they're actually registered with the National Council for Persons with Disability, and that even for our fellow members of parliament who are here, to ensure that they have updated their records of persons with disability within their constituency.
Laws of this country. Honorable Speaker, 1 and 2 provides very clearly the rights of persons with disability. Honorable Speaker, if you read Article 54.1, it says a person with disability is entitled to. Chair, the word entitled means mandatory, is entitled to certain constitutional rights. One of them being access to educational institutions and facilities that are integrated into the society. Honorable Speaker, even before the issue of employment, there is a challenge in access to educational institutions by persons living with disabilities. Honorable Speaker, we need to relook and ensure that our institutions handling persons with disabilities and the children are properly equipped and with facilities that will assist those children get education. Honorable Speaker, further, if you read 54.1.2.1c, it says they are entitled to reasonable access to all places of public and as well as transport. Honorable Speaker, we must align even our public institutions so that those living with disabilities are able to access those particular institutions. Honorable Speaker, Article 54.2, the subject of this debate, provides very clearly that PWDs shall, that the state shall, Honorable Speaker, it is not a suggestion, it is mandatory, that they shall ensure the progressive implementation of the principle that at least, Honorable Speaker, at least 5% of members of public in elective and appointive positions is entitled to PWDs. Honorable Speaker, I have read the report. The committee has noted very well that out of the 5% provided for by the Constitution, only, as we speak, only 2.1% of public institutions have complied with that particular constitutional principle. Honorable Speaker, it means that the remainder of 2.9%, we must take comprehensive steps as a house, as a country, so that we can be able to comply with this particular provision. Honorable Speaker, it is shameful that out of the 39 sampled public institutions, only one institution, that is the Lake Basin Development Authority, has been able to comply with the 5% threshold. Honorable Speaker, we must, as a country, be able to take care of these people. Honorable Speaker, under the PWD Act of 2003, we must be able to relook, because that is the legislation that provides very clearly that for the fundamental rights of persons living with disability. Honorable Speaker, for that reason, we must be able to amend that particular provision, that particular Act of Parliament. We must be able to amend it so that we align it with Article 54(2) of the Constitution and have these rights of persons living with disabilities clearly outlined and anchored in that particular legal provision. Honorable Speaker, finally, we need a report before this House, a comprehensive report by this particular committee on all public institutions outlining the compliance of the minimum threshold of at least 5%. Honorable Speaker, if that report is before this House, then it will inform amendments to the parent act, that is the National Council for Persons Living with Disabilities Act. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Thank you very much, Member for Marakwet West. The Honorable Njeri Maina, Member for Kirinyaga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support and commend the committee for this report. And Honorable Speaker, before I proceed, allow me to just highlight that it is not that 2.1% of institutions have complied. It is only, the compliance level is only at 2.1%. The Constitution, Article 54(2) is very clear. It says at the very least. That means that the threshold we should be looking at should be more than 5%. It is very disappointing that of the 39 institutions, public institutions for that matter, Honorable Speaker, that the committee visited, only one had fully complied with the requirement of not less than 5%. Honorable Speaker, Article 27 of the Constitution, in its entirety, and in specific Clause 4, indicates that no person should suffer any discrimination because they are differently abled. Honorable Speaker, we have the legislation in place. We have the policy of various relevant ministries in place, but we fail at implementation. Honorable Speaker, it is the same thing that happens to the 30% for AGPO that is supposed to be set aside for women, PWDs, and the youth to access opportunities from public and private institutions. And it is quite a disappointing thing, Honorable Speaker. We cannot only have the law in academia. The law was supposed, or rather the intention of the drafters, was for the Constitution of 2010 to be wholly implemented. Honorable Speaker, we must also ask ourselves, do we have performance indicators? Do we have evaluation mechanisms to ensure that once we have these policies in place, that they're actually being complied to? Honorable Speaker, it is also very disappointing to note that oftentimes the society looks at differently abled persons as bothersome, as if they're too needy. Honorable Speaker, I had the privilege of having a discussion at the People's Dialogue Festival with representatives of persons living with disability. And firsthand, you can tell that they are disadvantaged from the very dint that they were created that way, or sometimes perhaps along the way in life they had accidents. And it is a very unfortunate situation that we must also focus on mainstreaming implementation in even the private sector. Most of these institutions, they lack the basic infrastructure, mere basic infrastructure, to ensure that differently abled persons have access to these facilities, even health facilities, despite the fact that there is law in place and the 203 Act stipulates that differently abled persons must be facilitated with infrastructure to ensure that they access certain facilities. It is therefore the right time, and I have seen that the committee has recommended implementation within 3 months. Of course, perhaps they can give some more time for implementation and also follow up. I want to request the committee to follow up on whether it has actually been implemented, because we do not even need any subsidiary legislation. The law and the constitution is very clear. That means that those institutions are not compliant with the Constitution of 2010. So, as a House, we must ensure that we fully implement the 2010 constitutions and support persons living with disability. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Gideon Mulyungi, member for Mwingi Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report from the National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities. And I want to start by congratulating the chair and the committee. The chair is my neighbor. He passes through my constituency to his home, and I know he's a very able man. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I listened to him speaking, and as a former vice chair of that committee, I understand what he was talking about, and I support the contents of his document in total. Madam Speaker, the Constitution provides that all public institutions must comply with appointment of persons with disabilities up to 5%. And from the report that has been tabled, it is very clear that majority of the institutions in Kenya do not comply. Only one out of those which were interviewed complied. Madam Speaker, people living with disabilities are normally disadvantaged. And anybody, anytime, whether born or thereafter, can be disabled. You recall, Madam Speaker, the former president of Kenya, President Mwai Kibaki, became the president of Kenya on a wheelchair. And that was the epitome of compliance of this constitutional requirement. And I think that is why President Mwai Kibaki was the founder of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the spirit of the Constitution 54(2) is that this provision should be complied with progressively over time. And since we promulgated the Constitution, 2010 is now well over 10 years, 14 years. And in my view, all the institutions within 14 years ought to have complied with this provision. And therefore, I want to implore on this committee to crack the whip to ensure that all the government institutions comply with this provision. Madam Speaker, you realize that in most of the public buildings and even public places, PWDs are normally not provided for. You'll find buildings with no ramp access. You'll find even places where